Okay, excellent. We're just going to give the attendees a couple of minutes here to trickle in, and then we'll get the webinar underway. Okay, so we're going to get started here, and just as the last few attendees join. So I just want to note to all investors attending today that during this call, management will be making forward-looking statements. And so we encourage any investors to review our forward-looking statement disclaimer, which can be found on the second page of our investor deck, which can be found at invest.powerleaves.com in the more info section. So as you guys know by now, we are conducting a Reg D financing for accredited investors. This will be closing tomorrow, so we encourage all investors to complete their investment as soon as possible. We will be granting a small grace period for any investors who are able to sign the subdocs for tomorrow and fund shortly thereafter. If you're a US accredited investor, please go to invest.powerleaves.com and invest through our investor portal. And if you are a Canadian accredited investor, please email shares@powerleaves.com to indicate your interest, and we'll settle issuer direct. So with the launch of the Reg D also came, some major milestone for Power Leaves Corp, which is the completion of our inaugural facilities, our core facilities, which allow us to cultivate, extract, decoconize the finished product, our coca extract, our coca essence, and our decarb product. And so that really opened up, the world's first supply chain outside of the control of Coca-Cola. Since that time, we completed our first sample exports. We hosted the Vice President of Colombia at our facilities, where she expressed the support of the Colombian government for our project. And then, of course, we signed our first supply agreement and received our first commercial order. Very pivotal for us, and that's really what brings us to today. So on today's webinar, we're going to be discussing some of the more recent milestones since our last webinar. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please submit your questions as they come up. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Power Leaves CEO Pat McCutcheon to discuss our commercialization strategy, as well as, most excitingly, our first order and what that really means for Power Leaves. So Pat, please take it away.
Evan, thank you so much. Really excited to speak to everyone today. A lot of great new updates. I'll start off with a quick high-level strategy overview. We're working with a number of medium, major brand companies, as well as ingredient houses that are interested in adding our products to existing high-performing brands, as well as newly formulated brands. One of the things that we feel very strongly is that with the major brand companies and ingredient companies, it's a perfect opportunity to add our coca-based, decoconized coca-based extracts to a number of brands that already have brand adhesion, and this would now be considered a new SKU. So it's quick to market, fast distribution, and already known by the public for brands that we target, and we're prioritizing those targets. Still a heavy prioritization on the US and Canada. You've seen our first deal being a US player, a smaller medium deal, which we're looking to move a number of water-based products to market. This is very exciting for us. It proves that we actually now have executed on demand, have executed on a partnership in the US, and we are very excited that this is going to be our first, let it be small, but our first lead on to much bigger deals coming soon. In the medium term, we're exploring a number of different opportunities as well. We have formulated our own products, which has made it a lot easier to really give the consumer a taste, an opportunity to understand how different and how unique the coca-based extract is, and truly how much of a sweetening effect it actually has in their products. Our formulated products, we're exploring opportunities that could be co-branded with partners and then distributed in the US and Canada on major distribution platforms. So watch for this opportunity coming soon. We're expecting to have more news on that. One of the points that just come up recently in the news, it just really requalifies our business model and coca as a very unique hero ingredient. The timing is actually perfect for us to come out with this. And one of the products that we've just launched and and put out in a press release recently, is our decarb product. Decarb is an isolate of a special element of our decoconized coca extract that truly brings an increased sweetness effect and has a very heavy reduction on bitterness of caffeine-based products. So a perfect addition or hero product that can be then added to other high-performing products where consumers really enjoy the taste and the performance of the product. Well, now they can actually have a product that's added to it that brings a full natural base with additional nutrients and health and wellness benefits, but continuing to hold that same performance of those high-performing brands. One of the things that this is key and based on last week, I'm sure a lot of people have seen, and we put another release out, is that Reuters actually reported the WHO has now classified aspartame, the common sweetener that almost everyone I'm sure in the call knows, to be a potential carcinogenic. This is a major upset for the food and beverage industry and potentially a risk. We fill this gap perfectly with our new products. And this is one of the elements of coca and decoconized coca extract does have a significant amount of information in public forums, that being the sweetness effect and again, the bitterness reduction. Moving on now to just a couple of more elements in our first supply agreement. The supply agreement and the strategy behind this, as I mentioned before, working on numerous different groups concurrently, small, medium, and large, is really key for us to learn and continue to execute on our product development and our research and development. One of the things that we're really accelerating towards now is consumer feedback, analysis, and reports to be able to give a stronger definition of it, the what behind our decoconized coca extract and also our alcohol-based essence product. And finally, in general, we're very happy with our sales progression, our business development progression. Our team has actually grown now. We've added 2 new salespeople. One is focused on the US and one is focused on the Canadian base. And this really now has given us the opportunity to build out a very quickly growing list of BD partners, not only in the US and Canada, but also internationally, which you'll see new releases coming soon for samples that we've sent around the world. This is a very key element to prove that our supply chain has been successful and that we're actually able to move product around the world. And now we're finally hit commercialization. So thank you so much for my position, and I'll kick it back to Evan for the mic.
Awesome. Thanks, Pat. Really appreciate that. And I know we'll tackle a couple of questions from the audience as well at the end. But before we get to that, I want to hand it over to you, Ahmed, and in particular, last week, I believe it was last week, or maybe it was a week before, we announced the signing of an agreement with AgroSavia. And so that's a little bit different from some of the other releases that we've put out recently around the sample exports of our food and beverage products, as well as our first commercial order and sale supply agreement and order. So maybe if you could just help investors understand, who is AgroSavia and what's the significance of that to Power Leaves?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Evan, and thanks, Pat, and thanks everybody for joining. And we are very excited about the AgroSavia agreement and the news we announced last week. AgroSavia is a not-for-profit entity belonging to the Colombian government and the Ministry of Agriculture in particular. Its purpose is to carry out R&D of agricultural products and technology and generally promote technological innovation with the goal of supporting the agricultural sector in Colombia. And this is an important agreement for us. Obviously, it's with the Colombian government and allows PLC to work hand in hand and contribute to current policy and to streamline our receipt of non-control permits to accelerate our R&D efforts associated with the coca plant. And this includes from the development of low alkaloid plant genetics to exploring different use cases for our fertilizer additives. Most importantly, this really strengthens our ties with the Colombian government. You would have seen the announcement of the vice president having multiple visits to our facilities and us being included in the national development plan of the new president of Colombia. Given the large agricultural sector in Colombia, which is over 7% of their total GDP, Colombia's priority is to improve domestic food security and regulate legal uses of coca. And we, Power Leaves, provide a clear solution to both of these objectives. And so we in respect of our fertilizer business line, expect the Colombian government to be one of our biggest customers, and our discussions with them to date indicate and are consistent with that. So we're really, really excited about this. And then just a comment on the fertilizer business in general. It's a great short-term opportunity for Power Leaves. It's faster to market as there's less product development than our extract and essence and decarb business lines. And it allows us to monetize a waste stream that we would otherwise need to dispose of. And so while it's not our primary opportunity for growth, as the other business lines we mentioned, it's still an excellent business line for us to generate additional cash flow and near-term revenue growth. So as a result, with all of these factors, we're really pumped and excited about the agreement with AgroSavia. Now it's last week.
Awesome. Thank you, Ahmed, for giving that overview. We've always maintained the fertilizer angle of the story. There's a lot of benefits to it. It's a big $200 billion market, and especially with some of the supply chain crunches that are coming within Ukraine, one of the major sources of fertilizers. It's a big opportunity for Power Leaves, and as you noted, within Colombia domestically, whether the Colombian government or other agricultural businesses, there's definitely a huge opportunity for there for Power Leaves, especially in the short term. And so turning last but not least to Paul, our trusted CFO, and would you be able to provide an overview, especially now we're discussing commercial sales, of just the financial outlook for Power Leaves, as well as our plans regarding a potential go public?
Yes, thank you, Evan. Hi, everybody. So on the financials, even though we're a development stage company, we're building this to be a NASDAQ listed company. Hence, we're doing public company audits. The standard in the United States is called the PCAOB. That's a public company audit standard. A private company would be audited to US gas, they refer to it. So we're doing the harder one. We do expect our audit to be completed by the end of the month to basically prep us for that. In terms of revenues for 2023, we expect $600,000 top line, ramping up in 2024 to $9.7 million, and then $25.1 million in 2025. To underpin these revenue assumptions, we've got 13 LOIs signed across extract, essence, and the fertilizer business to support the projections. These LOIs are a major step to validating that the model is achievable. In terms of pricing, as people may have seen in our press release, we've achieved $100 a liter in our first commercial order. So it also validates the model and of our strong margin expectations. In terms of the go public plans, the board feels at this time that a public listing in the first half of 2024 is reasonable to maximize shareholder value, and we are targeting NASDAQ. We've had preliminary conversations with the exchange, and we've received the all clear.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the overview. And so now just to recap, before we get into the Q&A, I just want to recap the capital raising efforts and the plan overall. So as I noted at the beginning of the call, we are conducting a Reg D financing, and specifically we're selling units at 45 cents, where each unit is comprised of one common share and one half warrant exercisable at 60 cents. And so if we do reopen the Reg D with it closing tomorrow, and it will be at different terms with the warrant dropped at a minimum. And now to date, we've raised about $12 million of capital, which brought us to where we are today, which is the completion of our first facilities, obviously the formation of that critical exclusive agreement with the Nassau community, which is effectively our moat that allows us to legally cultivate and extract the coca leaves. We've also brought in already $3.7 million at the current valuation that we're raising at today for the current Reg D financing. And so we encourage any investors to invest, before the end of tomorrow. Again, as I noted, there will be a grace period for any of those investors who have signed the subdocs, but just need a couple extra days to complete the actual funding. Looking ahead, as we've noted in some communications, we have launched with the U.S. Investment Bank Castle Placement. They're starting now. They launched maybe a couple of weeks ago, and they're already starting to see some interest from some institutional investors. So we're very optimistic that this channel can also be helpful with our capital raising efforts, as well as having conversations with other U.S. investment banks that can support, pre-IPO financing. We do also plan on conducting a Reg A later in the year, and that would absolutely be at a higher valuation. And so with that, I'd like to kind of give the audience an opportunity to submit any questions they might have. There should be a Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. So please feel free to submit any questions you might have. And again, as a reminder, while we're waiting for those questions to come in, for any interested investors, if you're a US investor, you can go to invest.powerleaves.com and invest through our portal. And if you are a Canadian accredited investor, you can email shares@powerleaves.com in order to make an investment. So for the first question, a lot of stuff regarding the commercialization. Pat, I'll throw this one to you. We've got our three products, but of the decarb, the extract, and the essence. And this question is, what are our target markets? Like, what are we actually looking to target? Obviously, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Evan. Target markets absolutely are Canada and the US. Canada as a starting point for our smaller scale distribution, but US absolutely for our larger volumes and major food and beverage players, as I mentioned before. I can maybe go a little deeper versus target markets than the target product segments. Target product segments for our decoconized extract are a healthy natural energy drink. Think of a Monster or Red Bull, but now give it a full natural health and wellness perspective with the same sweet tasting and same performance, but now at a much healthier rate without some of the risks of the sweetener that's just been regarded by the WHO as dangerous and potentially carcinogen. The second target segment and main one that we're going to market with is vodka in our essence. Vodka is a great product for our essence to be diluted into. Our initial essence that we have has a very high dilution rate, anywhere between 80 to 100 to 1 dilution. It's a very strong, robust flavor and gives vodka a very unique, very different coca flavor with a unique aftertaste. So we feel that vodka spirit and then vodka soda mixes are a great opportunity, and obviously are very high paced or fast sellers with high volumes both in the US and Canada. We are definitely exploring opportunities internationally with partnerships that are in discussion in Africa and Australia, but there'll be more information on those to come in future.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. So yeah, we've got a couple more questions coming in. One is just a short question, but maybe Ahmed or Pat, feel free. Just discussing the FDA approval, either of Power Leaves and or of the products and or what we need to be able to bring the products to market.
Ahmed, do you want to take that piece in terms of how we're engaging?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, we do have FDA registration of our Neva facility in Colombia, which is our primary kind of outgoing shipment facility. And so that is already in place. And in terms of our US commercialization, we've engaged former FDA employees and consultants who have provided to us regulatory opinion regarding the compliance of our business with US regulatory. And again, it is generally recognized as safe substance product. So we're very excited for the next steps and have already worked through our regulatory and regulatory pathway in the US for commercialization. So we're really excited to action these and execute on them.
Excellent. Thank you, Ahmed. And so we've got another question coming in here. Pat, probably a good one for you. Do we know the exact kind of caloric level of the sweetener of our decarb product at this time?
So it's a little tricky right now to answer this at this point. The caloric level will be defined by the the concentration and then the resulting dilution in the target product that we're going to go after. Because we're able to really increase the concentration of our extract and then the isolate, the decarb product that we have that is specifically focused on the sweetener, sweetness enhancing, and then bitterness reduction, which is very similar effect. It's difficult to see, but you can actually test this on chromatography. However, depending on the drink product that we're going to look at, right now we're like maybe you gave a percentage. We're looking at potentially a 30+% reduction in sugar or sweeteners in our end target product. And we've done the most amount of work on our healthy energy drink right now at this point. So use that, let's say, as a starting benchmark, with more information to come on our first big brands that will be launched. Obviously, that will be one of the highlighted elements of the health and wellness perspective of reducing the sugar relative to these other very high sugar energy drinks on the shelf.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you, Pat. And so I'm gonna paraphrase this next question. I'm guessing it's due to the fact that, we've referenced multiple times that we're raising capital to scale up our production capacity as well as build working capital. And this question is regarding, the expected costs of that expansion. Pat, do you want to cover that one?
Yes, sorry, could you just repeat the last part of the question?
Yeah, it's just discussing the expected costs, like the CapEx costs for the expansion of our production capacity.
Yeah, our CapEx costs are really relatively low versus any other business that you're looking to kind of produce these types of extracts and the unique products, and definitely in the first to market. We're looking at significantly under $1 million in CapEx that we'll be applying to the scale up equipment, which is a number of different pieces of distillation equipment for increasing our multiple output of the decoconized extract as well as the essence. And then as well, a significant amount of analytical equipment that we're going to be bringing in, and then the associated operators, both on the operational extraction side as well as the analytical side. A key component of the business now to shorten our timeline for process efficiencies and executing on our highest quality of product is really doing our testing in-house. This has been one of the things that we've been working on since the inception of the project. That I'll admit was initial challenges in the first place, but we've brought on now a number of great additional players on our science and operational team that will be able to give us a much faster and significant scale up with relatively low capital injection after this concurrent finance or this financing closing.
Okay.
I can also help just to comfort people. In our model this year it's $1.4 million, and next year we've got $2.5 million. So it's not a very high capital intensity operation.
Excellent. Thank you for the detail, Paul. We've got another question, Ahmed. This one's probably for you. How are we managing the relationships with the Indigenous communities?
Yeah, I mean, our relationship with the Indigenous communities, again, under the 15-year exclusive agreement is our moat. It's our key asset. And so we have very close ties and relations with our Indigenous. We have obviously members of our science and operational team that are there, 24/7, working hand in hand with the Indigenous partners. Pat also spends some time managing the relationships there in Colombia, actually on the ground and in the field, and we have regular interactions with the Indigenous leaders and members of the Indigenous community to receive feedback, and they are thrilled. They have been thrilled with the level of engagement. With the community of over 16,000, I think our project has already reached positively impacted over 10,000 members of the community, and that would be expanding as we scale up and take these next steps through commercialization. And then as you'll see coming soon, maybe a bit of a teaser, but there's been a lot of media interest in terms of our relationship and our coverage. So we're working very closely with our Indigenous partners and stuff that you'll see in the mainstream media very soon.
Excellent. A good teaser, Ahmed. No, that's great. I appreciate that. So we've got a couple more questions more focused on commercialization. Again, I'll kind of like paraphrase a little bit here, and Paul, maybe this is a good one for you, but you referenced the LOIs that are signed. Can you provide some detail on the how much they support our revenue projections?
Yeah. We've got approximately 50% of our revenue projections under signed LOIs
Excellent.
right now. Yeah.
And then another question, again, just seeing a couple things on the commercialization side. When do we, Pat, this is for you, and we'll probably have to be a bit careful, but when do we expect our first large commercial order?
Yeah, it's a little tricky. Thanks to that lob. Well, I think actually, and yeah, this is not my first rodeo with the company. I think we'd love to stimulate the excitement with our shareholders and our investors listening in and watching. We feel that our first significant next significant commercial sale, I guess, so first significant commercial sale is going to be coming in the short term. Please stay tuned. We feel it's an important indicator that the company is really moving forward to actually sign a commercial deal with continual minimum volume purchasing. And that's one of the things that's been a target and prioritization in our commercial strategy as we move forward. And really solidifying longer term partnerships out of the gates gives us a great opportunity to grow on product development and then significantly increase our volumes to get the most volume to the shelf, so we can actually then enhance our customer adhesion and truly have the right partners bring our brand new coca extract to the consumers. So to sum it up, stay tuned, very exciting, should be seen in the very short-term future.
Awesome, thank you, Pat. And another one on commercialization, but on the other business segments. So maybe Ahmed, I'll throw this over to you. Who do we expect the customers to be the fertilizer products?
We have numerous signed LOIs and some converted into commercial agreements or in the process of converting into commercial agreements with different companies within the agricultural sector in Colombia. And as I stated earlier, we have, the utmost interest from the Colombian government in our fertilizer, just because it hits the key priorities of their national development plan with our fertilizer product. So, very keen interest from the Colombian government in addition to our private sector partners.
Okay, awesome.
I was just gonna say, maybe just to add to that, one of the things also in our fertilizer project, and directly in line with Ahmed's comments about the government support, is truly giving back to the Indigenous communities as well. We're doing a number of trials and tests with our local and Indigenous communities, and we hope to add additional communities to that to trial their own brand new coca fertilizer. And this is right in line with the government strategy, and which is very supportive of this fact, to then accelerate our understanding of the efficacy and how much we can actually give back to our Indigenous partners.
Awesome, perfect. I think that is a very positive, very good note to end on, because we are coming up to the 5 o'clock here. So I'll just recap for everyone again. If you are interested in investing, if you're a US investor, please go to invest.powerleaves.com, and a Canadian investor can just email shares@powerleaves.com. And of course, if you have any questions about anything we've discussed here today, or just about Power Leaves as a whole, please don't hesitate to reach out. Just email shares@powerleaves.com. And with that, thank you very much, everyone, for attending. We greatly appreciate the support.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Great evening, everyone.